There is one prediction for gold that is going to blow you away. Wait till you hear at what this analyst says gold is going to go to by mid 2024 as we explore. Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. Here we are. Typically, we do talk about predictions and what other people predict the price of gold and or silver to be at a particular point in time. It's fascinating to see what their line of thinking is and their logic behind some of their prediction. As you know, and as they know too, typically it is just a guess. It's an educated guess, but a guess nonetheless. And this particular person is making a very bearish prediction, and it's actually really kind of caught my attention because we're so used to seeing the very, very bullish predictions for gold, but this one is moving in another direction. It is actually going way down. And who am I talking about here? Well, you can probably guess. For those of you who know the track record of this particular individual, has been making pretty bearish predictions for the precious metal sectors for quite some time. But he is a respected analyst and is interviewed by many financial channels or institutions for quite some time. And I'm talking about Harry Dent. Kitco News did a very long interview with him. I watched segments of it and talks a little bit about what his prediction is. And we have seen gold trading in 2023 currently, up around, over $1,900 an ounce now, about 1,900 and actually right now it's about 1,940 and change. And but this guy Harry Dent is saying that it's going to reverse the trend and have a dramatic decline, and it will be considered the biggest crash in our lifetime is what he's saying is going to happen there with gold. And that's after it enters the second wave. And Harry Dent is the founder of HS Dent, and he is calling for gold to reach as low as $900 per ounce by mid-2024. Can you imagine? Now, some of you may be thinking to yourself, well, the only way that's going to happen is if we have a massive deflationary period. And that will be pretty interesting to see how that plays out. And in that case, the $900 gold won't be so bad if it's a massive deflationary situation, because that's where everything goes down and everything crashes in price. It's just that the precious metals will not fall as much. And when I say that, well, that's a pretty big drop, and that's a pretty extreme measure there. He goes on to say that gold is not a safe haven. I'm predicting that gold goes down to $900 or $1,000. That will be a lot less than other commodities. It is still a 40 to 45% fall from here. Indeed, that's a big, massive drop for sure. Dent's track record includes correctly forecasting the Japanese asset bubble, the dot-com bubble, and the election of Donald Trump as president in 2016. And Dent said that an everything bubble has been manufactured by the Federal Reserve's loose monetary policy, which had caused booms in most asset classes, especially stocks. But I kind of want to revisit this thing he talks about, that gold is not a safe haven. Well, I would like to venture a guess or a little bit of analysis here about that, or talk a little bit about what that means. And, how can gold be a safe haven if it drops 40 to 45%? Well, again, that's that deflationary situation that we're talking about here. As deflation occurs, everything falls. It's just that gold holds on and doesn't fall as much, or silver. In this case, obviously, if gold were to drop to $900 an ounce, my guess is probably we might see sub $10 silver again. So there is that possibility as well too. But here we are. This is what it is. But gold still would be a safe haven there in that time point because it doesn't go to zero. It doesn't certainly lose its structure as a safer bet than other asset classes or other stocks or other commodities that would fall much more than that. But I think this is highly unlikely. I think most everybody that would see this analysis would probably think that wouldn't be the case. In the interview, the interviewer mentioned that Harry Dent has gotten some things right. The actual numbers were not as extreme as he had posted. So, though some may say that gold could fall, maybe perhaps by then, maybe it would be $1,500 an ounce or $1,400 per ounce. But I don't know. I still think that I doubt we'll see those numbers either. But, no one really knows for sure. The boom from 2009 to late 2021 in stocks was 120% artificial, according to Harry Dent. It was just the Fed stimulating more and more to keep the stock market up. That is taking a toxic financial drug, which when it finally goes down and falls, you have a hang-up. And I think he thinks that gold is going to be not the beneficiary, but the victim of such a dramatic move. In other words, so goes the stock market. The gold may go with it to that level. But I don't think now that would be the case. It just depends on what happens with inflation. And again, I'm predicting that the only way for this to occur would be if it was a deflationary event. He predicted that a massive crash will occur amidst an already bearish market once the NASDAQ hits its 2022 low of 10,088. So that is the thing to look out for a bearish market, is to watch the NASDAQ, according to Harry Dent. And so, let's kind of take a look and see what the NASDAQ is doing right now. Right now, it's lost, as of the recording of this video, it's lost 20 points. It's 11,300 and change, so it's got about 1,000 more points to move than that. So we'll see. But he goes on to say that he feels like the ultimate low at this point for stocks is likely to be July or so of 2024. So we're still in the early stages to know that this crash is continuing and will go a lot deeper. We need to break the last low, which is 10,088. The next wave downwards will occur once this critical level is reached, he added. From its all-time high, Dent expects the NASDAQ to fall 92%, and that the S&P will fall to 86%. Gold will crash, along with other assets, to $900 per ounce, as we said, but will ultimately reach $4,000 after markets recover from the next economic boom takes place. So there you go. So he's predicting a massive crash and then a massive recovery up to $4,000 an ounce. Can you imagine? Now, it depends on how fast this occurs, much like what we saw with silver that dropped, below half its price. Could you find any silver for that amount at under $12 an ounce, or any normal premium above that? No, you were still paying well over $20 an ounce, or right at $20 an ounce for silver at that time. Much if this would be the case with gold, if that were to occur and there was a flash crash of gold, it would be pretty much the same aspect. In fact, it may be even worse. In other words, you might even see prices rise for silver or for gold if that were to occur. Again, understanding that his prediction here is something that we have seen before. He's always been kind of bearish and really extreme in some of the numbers that he's used, such as we see here. But this is the first really bearish prediction that I've seen for gold in quite some time. So I thought I'd bring it to folks' attention just as something to kind of think about. Think of this as a thought exercise. And look at the possibilities that this could be given his reasoning. And I think there is something to be said about what the Federal Reserve is doing. We do know that the Federal Reserve injected a lot of liquidity into the markets, and that's propped them up. It is like a sort of a steroid injection, as it were. And we're still reeling from that, really. I mean, quantitative easings 1 through 3 is where a lot of money was injected into the market, and a lot of that money was also sent overseas. And because of that, we didn't see massive inflation where we should have, because a lot of the velocity of money was not as such that it was in Main Street. It was all in Wall Street, propped up. And that propping up and that steroid injection is still holding on, with, plus not only that, with this other liquidity that's been injected into it from subsequent legislation and Federal Reserve action. And so this is where we are at. So who knows what's going to happen? It'd be very fascinating to see. But the thing I disagree with him the most, even if there is a deflationary period, as I mentioned before, gold is definitely a safe haven, and it would be a safe haven still if it fell to $900, because that means everything else has probably fallen much more dramatically given that period of time, given the as a comparison. That is what gold and silver do. They protect during inflationary cycles as well as deflationary cycles. We just don't see those deflationary cycles too often, and some people think that it's something that likely is not going to happen in the coming years here. It seems impossible to think about deflation when we've had inflation for so long. But there is a possibility, there is a chance, if everything pops and everything does what some people say, that we may have a deflationary period. And in some senses, we saw a very microscopic scale of that happen during the pandemic, when silver flash crashed and some of these other things went down. In fact, inflation went down to 1.2% when the Fed's target is 2% during that period, because there was not much economic activity. So it's a thought process, but nonetheless, make no mistake, gold will continue to be, as it has always been, a store of value. A way to protect yourself against economic instability of all sorts, of all types, and uncertainty as well. And we'll continue to do that. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.